You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is Unreal Tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome, everyone. It was the kind of headline that freezes you. Garrison Brown dead at 25. Not a tabloid shocker. Not a scandal. Just hard, heart-wrenching sadness. Janelle and Kody Brown's son. Dead. But this was more than a senseless tragedy. This was a slow-motion disaster, years in the making. A building storm behind reality TV smiles and cajoled family photos. Sister Wives fans knew Garrison. We saw him mature, sweet, witty, sarcastic. But beneath the smirk was a scream so silent for love, connection, and validation. From those early times in Lehigh to the detached chill of Flagstaff, Garrison's on-screen journey spoke a story much more profound. This was not merely one boy's downfall. It was a collapse precipitated by emotional abandonment, power struggles, and the sort of parental silence that wounds deeper than words. While Kody was busy running after structure and control, Garrison was quietly erecting emotional walls, longing for a father who kept disappearing. In the early seasons, Kody was free-spirited, infuriating even, but present. He danced at talent shows, chuckled at goofy kid jokes. Then something shifted. He became colder, more obsessed with power, more concerned with punishing disobedience than parenting. And when COVID arrived, that obsession became dogma. Kody drew hard lines, and Garrison, he pushed back. He had a job, friends, purpose. He didn't want isolation, he wanted life. Kody's response? Silence. Not discipline, not discussion. Just a weaponized absence. The kind that says, submit or disappear. And for Garrison, that was the final wound. A father more interested in obedience than understanding. A home where loyalty was demanded, not earned. A father who ghosted his own sons during a game of house with his favorite wife. Let this sink in. A grown man, posing as a dad, wouldn't speak to his son until he apologized. For what? For having grown up? For having questions? For needing to be on his own? Garrison wasn't disobedient. He was brokenhearted. His defiance wasn't rebellion. It was sorrow. A son begging his dad to just be present. And the cameras were there to record it all. Kody declaring his sons needed to come to him. That they weren't loyal. But loyalty ain't a kid's responsibility. Love is. And Garrison provided that love over and over, even when it wasn't reciprocated. While Kody lavished all his empathy on Robin's kids, treating Aurora's college worries as if they were a national emergency, while Garrison's hurt was disregarded. It wasn't merely emotional rejection, it was systemic. One family received compassion, the other received rules. One child received support, the other received silence. When Aurora cried, she received comfort. When Garrison cried, he received cutoff. And yet he continued to try. To post on social media, to send messages, to build a life and hope his father would see him. He purchased a home, rescued feral cats, created stability, but what he most desired, a father. And all he received was space. This isn't rebellion. This is starvation of the heart. Kody waited for apology. Garrison waited for love. And time expired. As Kody retreated, Janelle remained steady. Not boisterous, not dramatic, simply there. She managed money, work schedules, relocations, emotional breakdowns of her sons, and never lost showing up. When Kody opted for Robin over and over, Janelle opted for her boys, even when it meant being alone. There's that moment, seared into memory, where she says to Christine, "He's essentially told me he doesn't want to be a father to them unless they apologize." That's not parenting. That's emotional blackmail. And yet, Janelle persisted. She instructed the boys to offer Kody grace. She attempted to bridge the gap. But you can't make a ghost be loved by a child. And when Garrison passed away, it was at her house where the family came to mourn. Not Kody's. Money was a silent assassin too. This wasn't a family. This was a failing business. 4 wives, 18 children, 1 legal income. And even with the TLC paychecks arriving regularly, the fissures never sealed. When Isabel required spinal surgery, Christine took her by herself. Kody didn't accompany her. Insurance wouldn't pay for it. Where was all of that money going? Meanwhile, Robin lived in a practically $1 million home, and Janelle was in an RV on raw land. She couldn't afford to rent and still have her name attached to the Coyote Pass loan. Let that sink in. After 40 years of marriage, Janelle got less than she began with. The land, the money, the dreams, none of those things ever belonged to her, or Christine, or their children. Kody continued to preach harmony, but each choice revealed discord. Robin and her children received safety, love, and protection. The rest received resentment. And now, with the cameras rolling toward their last seasons, viewers are left wondering, what do they do when the show ends? When the funds run out? Robin and Kody don't have businesses, no public agendas, just a decaying empire based on dominance, not bonding. And now that Garrison is gone, the price isn't just theoretical, it's heartbreakingly real. Emotional scars became irreversible. Shattered bonds never mended. And the son Kody claimed had to apologize is now a memory that will terrify every episode replayed by viewers. There's also Mary, the first wife, the lawful wife, until she wasn't. She remained faithful. To whom? A man who publicly announced the marriage was finished. When Christine walked away, Mary judged. When Janelle wept, Mary observed. She stood up for Robin, obeyed Kody's commands, and stood silently by the public dismantling of her sister wives. At what juncture does loyalty turn into complicity? Mary did not stand up for the boys. She did not protest. She remained silent while a family was broken. And now she has nobody. No husband, no sister wives, no actual place in the failing building she fought to defend for too long. And it all leads back to Robin. From the start, she wasn't a fourth wife. She was the wife, Kody's soulmate, the one he chose. She didn't fit into the family, she reshaped it. She received the love, the attention, the vows. When everyone else endured, she prospered. Kody wasn't there, he was committed. And by doing so, he rebranded the rules of plural marriage into a monogamous fantasy. Christine observed it. Janelle experienced it. Garrison died, hoping it would get better. From dinner with the family to milestone events, favoritism was ever the silent thread that frayed the Brown family. Kody had claimed he loved all his children equally, but his actions spoke louder than his words. Robin's children received the daily hugs, the check-ins from the father, the emotional support. The others? They received a man who couldn't even recall birthdays without reminders from the cameras. And the children picked up on it. Gabriel, one who was once cheerful and close to Kody, pulled away. Garrison became resentful. Savannah hardly spoke when her dad approached. Favoritism doesn't only split. It shames, wears down, and vacuums out the relationships children are meant to be able to depend on. COVID was meant to bring the Browns together. It tore them apart like never before. Kody weaponized the pandemic as a battleground for power, issuing arbitrary rules that didn't make sense, delivering ultimatums that crushed his kids. He said it was for safety, but his rules weren't ever evenly enforced. As Robin's house was a bubble of ease, Janelle and Christine's children were left with options no child should have to consider: isolate or be banished. It wasn't an exercise in health policy. It was a test of loyalty. Garrison didn't merely grow up, he had to toughen up. Without a father to guide him through young adulthood, he made choices independently. He enlisted in the National Guard. He purchased a home. He labored, saved, and boasted in creating something solid. But the pride was usually interwoven with melancholy. Whom did he have to share the victories with? Whom did he see through the failures? Not Kody. Each social media post, each grin in a picture, it was a son showing the world, "I'm all right," while softly whispering, "Dad, are you watching?" When Robin wept, the world stood still. Kody leaned in. TLC put their cameras on her. Her hurt took center stage. But when Christine cried, she was termed bitter. When Janelle sobbed, she was termed dramatic. When the boys suffered, they were rebellious. No empathy, no comfort, no safe haven. Robin's tears were holy. Everyone else's, inconvenient. This imbalance wasn't only unjust, It was poisonous. It bred a hierarchy of suffering, where only certain pain was worth noticing. And it warned the other family members that if they didn't bow before the right person, their feelings were irrelevant. The Browns presented a story to the world: strength in unity. But beneath the surface, that unity was fractured, shattered, and pieced together by denial. They were not strong. They were hanging on. And hanging on frequently meant keeping quiet, shutting down, and emotional starvation. The dinner scenes, the confession scenes, the carefully constructed scenes on television, they hid a reality fans began to see all too clearly. The family was not one. They were torn apart by favoritism, ruled by guilt, held together by financial need. When Christine finally departed, the very fabric of the Brown family was shaken. It wasn't merely a wife leaving a husband, it was a mother saying, enough. She didn't walk away from Kody, she walked towards self-respect. And that shook up every relationship. Suddenly, Janelle began questioning. Gabriel and Garrison grew more outspoken. Mary was put under the microscope in her stagnation. Robin held on for dear life. Christine's bravery made everyone stare into a mirror. And for some, what they saw staring back was a stranger who had been dwindling for decades. Christine's leaving was the catalyst. But Janelle's awakening? That was the wildfire. She had believed in the collective dream for years. The land, the family bond, the combined finances. But it all came crashing on the day that she knew none of this was real. Not for her. Not for her sons. Kody wasn't creating a future. He was constructing a fortress for himself and Robin. She began to speak louder, stand firmer. Not out of revenge, but out of reality. Her children's future, her financial independence. Because she realized at last, keeping quiet was no longer a loving act. It was a self-betrayal. While the world watched Kody and his sons collide, another heartbreak boiled in silence. Savannah, Janelle's youngest, the quietest, the most overlooked. While the storm brewed between Kody and his sons, Savannah stood in silence, watching as her father neglected her birthday. It wasn't a mistake. It was a hurt. Because birthdays are not about presents. They're about recognition. And Kody's not being there hollered louder than any gift ever could. Savannah learned the hard way that being the quiet kid does not keep you from being forgotten. It just means that your pain is not noticed. Gabriel attempted to be the peacemaker, the gentle-voiced son. But even he had limits. He struggled to hold back tears on national TV recalling the phone call with his father. A moment to share happiness, Gabriel's birthday, turned into a COVID inquisition. No happy birthday, no warmth, only rules. And that was the day Gabriel quit trying. The day he knew his father wasn't listening, wasn't relating, just dictating. And once a son quits trying, the gulf becomes a canyon, one that no amount of public apology can bridge. Robin always professed she desired unity, peace, sisterhood, but her actions spoke differently. Tears streamed when questioned. Defensiveness surged when anyone pushed her back. She played the victim and lived comfortably. And asked to promote reconciliation between Kody and his children, she placed conditions, not compassion. She said they had to respect him. But what about him showing them respect? Respect is not a one-way highway. And the minute Robin made respect conditional, the facade of unity was broken. By season 18, cracks in Kody's leadership weren't merely visible. They were erupting volcanically. His erstwhile confident stance now carried with it outbursts, contradictions, and emotional instability. Fans weren't watching a father attempting to keep his family alive. They were watching a man lose control. The tantrums, the interviews, the desire to dictate every story. It wasn't leadership, it was terror. And the more Kody attempted to position himself as the victim, the more apparent it became. He wasn't grieving a shattered family. He was grieving the loss of control. He frequently said he gave up everything for his family. But what did he actually lose? His time, spent largely with Robin. His money, still shrouded in financial intrigue. His emotional capital, for the special children only. True sacrifice takes the form of showing up, even when it's difficult. True sacrifice means sacrificing ego for relationships. And Garrison knew this. He witnessed the selective work. He witnessed what sacrifice in Robin's household looked like and what neglect in his own looked like. And that contrast, it shattered him. One final attempt, before he died, Garrison made. He reached out, tried to fix it, tried to bring Kody back into his life. But the letter never arrived. And during those last few months, he wasn't mad. He was exhausted. Exhausted of hoping, exhausted of waiting, exhausted of creating a life for a father who wouldn't be there. His house, his animals, his career, it was a young man proving he was enough. And when he couldn't sense that from the man who should have told him first, something inside of him broke. The worst part? Audiences knew this was coming. Season after season, they saw Garrison reduce. They decoded the subtext in his sarcasm. They heard the pain in his silence. And when the news hit, they mourned. But not just, they were angry. Because this wasn't fated. This was preventable. This was a slow burn tragedy. One that anyone who cared to look beyond the editing and into the eyes of a young man in pain could see. Garrison is no longer here, but what he stood for can't be erased. He was the mirror held up to a broken system. A child who told the truth with his actions when no one else would say it out loud. His loss and his life ought to shake the roots of all that sister wives purported to stand for. Because as long as families continue to confuse fear with respect, as long as fathers insist on demanding loyalty, not providing love, as long as silence is rewarded as strength, deaths like Garrison's won't cease. This isn't about the Browns. It's about every family stuck in dysfunction, using religion, structure, or tradition as cover. Garrison's story is a wake-up call. A challenge to all parents, siblings, and leaders to end excusing emotional neglect. Because love is not about obedience, it's about presence, about showing up, about saying, you matter before it's too late. And for Garrison Brown, it was too late. But perhaps, just perhaps, if we listen now, his tale can still save someone else. This family's drama is far from over. So smash like. If you're Triage Team Wives, subscribe for the next explosive update and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next scandal. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.